followed a bunch of terrorists once for a couple of days, but we gave up the chase because we were unable to make up the distance between them and ourselves. And accordingly, we were instructed to wait for a pickup that would take us back to our platoon base. And I was looking forward to going back there. We'd run out of rations, and we were a little bit short of water as well. And in due course, 2 trucks arrived, and I was told then, a little bit to my surprise, that we wouldn't be going back to our platoon base, but that we would be accompanying another call sign to set up an ambush. I climbed on the back of the truck, and the stick leader from our mortar section said to me that he was tired. They had been out on an operation somewhere, and he said, you take charge. Just tell us what you want us to do. So I said, well, what's going on? So he said, oh, there's information that a store is going to be robbed tonight, and they want us to set up an ambush, just in case the information turns out to be true. So I was told where the store was, and I instructed the driver to proceed down the road to bring us a little bit closer to this building. And we came to a spot in the road, and I knew that we wouldn't get any closer to this. We were probably about, I'd say maybe 400 or 500 meters away from the store, and I didn't think that we should drive any further down the road. So I banged on the cab, and the vehicle stopped. And I said to the driver, okay, just wait here a bit, I just want to get my bearings. And on the skyline in the distance, I could see 2 clusters of dwellings. And I thought to myself, now, which of those 2 is likely to have the store? And I consulted with the section leader from our mortars, and he said he didn't have a clue. So I said, well, let's take a walk to the edge of the road, and has anybody got a pair of binos, and let's see if we can solve this question. So we walked to the edge of the road, and there was a very large field of standing maize. And we looked in the distance. We looked at the one set of buildings. We looked at the other. We couldn't discern anything that looked like a store. And he said to me, well, what do you want to do? So I said, well, let's aim for the buildings on the left. Okay, we'll wait till the sun goes down a bit, and then we'll walk in the twilight, and then set ourselves up around those buildings. So he said, fine. And we walked back to the trucks, and got our kit, filled our water bottles from the water tanks on the trucks. The vehicles then set off back to the platoon base, and we waited for it to get dark, and then we walked over to the store. We found it. It was indeed amongst those buildings that I had selected, and we waited through the night. Nothing happened. The next morning we waited until the store opened, and some of the guys bought cool drinks for themselves, and we were eventually picked up there by the trucks. And for the next few weeks we continued with our work as normal. And one afternoon I heard the sound of a 2-5 truck arriving at our platoon base, and it was the company commander. And he went into the ops tent and had a conversation there with our platoon lieutenant, and then he left again. And then I heard my name being called, and I ran over to the ops tent, and the lieutenant asked me to sit down. And he said to me, did I recall being ordered to go and set up an ambush at a store? And I said, yes, I did. And he said, do you remember standing on the side of a field of maize and discussing which buildings you should go to. I said, yes, I recall that perfectly well. And then I was starting to get a little bit worried, and I thought, I wonder where this line of questioning is going. Have I done something wrong, perhaps? And he said, well, I got some interesting news from the company commander. There was a contact recently, and one of the surviving gooks had some interesting information. He said that they were setting out to ambush a store, and they heard the sound of trucks coming, so they took cover in a maize field. And the truck stopped near them, and two men walked over to where they were, and he repeated the discussion that the two of you had had. And I said, really? He said, yeah. They were about 4 paces away from you. And I thought, 4 paces? That's not much wider than the ops tent. And I remember looking down on the ground, looking from one side of the tent to the other, and I thought, that's very close. That's very close. And he just said, somebody's looking after you, because we asked them, why didn't you open fire on the soldiers? And the wounded gook that they had captured said, I don't know. We were all looking at our commander, waiting for the command to fire, because we were all aiming at them, and he just motioned us not to shoot. And I thought, whoa, I should be dead. I should be dead. And even now, as I recount that incident, in my mind's eye, I can see that very spot. If you took the road from Sipalilo to the Mahui Flygate, and you branched off at Manovi Farm, and you travelled down that dirt road for perhaps 4 or 5 kilometres, that's where it is. That is the very place where I should have died. And, you know, I don't think that many days go by that I don't think of that afternoon. And in some ways it marks a bit of a turning point in my life, because I realize that I had been spared. I believe that my Creator gave me life, and when He's good and ready, He'll take it away from me. I can't speak for other people. I know that there are many who will not subscribe to that kind of what they would call superstition, and they would say it's purely the luck of the draw. Well, I'm not going to argue with anybody, but that's not how I personally feel about it. And I have since then, on many occasions, thought to myself, I have so much to be grateful for. So many of my comrades did not see the war out. So many of them died there. Others were wounded, and I was spared all of that. And I think on the whole, life has been good to me. I have no complaints, absolutely none. There have been difficult times, and I've reminded myself that even though I might be going through hard times, I'm still alive. And I think the good times have outweighed the bad. So, yes, I am grateful. I am grateful. And I feel that I have been living on borrowed time since that afternoon. But that's fine. That's up to God. But you know, that's the fortunes of war. But it cost that group of gooks dearly. I have a book here. It's written by Colonel Ronry Daly. If you're a follower of Rhodesian war history, then you probably have it in your collection. And I would just like, if you don't mind, I would like to just read a few words from it. In my copy, they are found on page 298, and it's in the section that he calls the beginning of the end. So if you wanted to verify my words. But he says this: while they were at this observation point, a Rhodesian regiment platoon deployed on ambush further upstream surprised the Zipra group crossing the Zambezi and opened fire. Shortly after the sounds of contact had died away, the remnants of this group, some floating dead in the water and some still alive in inflated boats, drifted past the observation point. So they opened fire and finished them off. I don't want to argue with a good colonel, but he's a little bit mistaken here. It wasn't a platoon from the Rhodesian regiment. It was at most a couple of sticks from my platoon. I was out on follow-up at the time. But a man from our mortar section, a Scot, with the MAG, personally killed 15 of that group in the river. And had those gooks opened up on us and killed us there beside the trucks that afternoon, those 15 men would not have been shot in the water the way that they were. So, yeah, that's warfare. Some live and some die. And those who live are grateful for the opportunity and for the life that we have.